Children, we are about to begin with our online English classes once more. This time we are going to do another new chapter, chapter 2 from Snapshots, The Address by Marga Minko. Marga Minko is the pen name or the other name of Sarah Menko. In 1942, when the World War was going on, her parents were forced to move into the city's Jewish quarter. The parents, her brother and sister, were all deported, were all sent away. And Marga and Sarah, Marga or Sarah, they are the same person, managed to survive the war in hiding. She managed to survive the war because she was out of sight, she was in hiding. Thus, all her stories often revolve around the after consequences or the problems faced by the survivors after the war. Right? Now, the background of the story is World War II ran its terror during 1939 to 1945. And the terror was so much that we find in the words of a soldier here. He has recounted in his experience in a few lines. Amsterdam has been bombed by the Nazis at the very beginning of the war. Amsterdam is in Holland, destroying about a square kilometer in the central section of the city. Looking around, I saw little or no signs of war, and it was not until the train reached the border that the horrors of World War II became apparent. Apparent means obvious. He was shocked and he was terrorized by the consequences of war. Now this time we are going to read this experience, read a short story that is a poignant account, that is a touching account, deeply touching account of a daughter who goes in search of her mother's belongings after the war in Holland. When she finds them, these mother's objects, they bring up random memories of her earlier life. But she decides to leave all the memories behind. She decides to dump all the memories behind and resolves to move on. Just forgive and forget. Why? We come to the story, right? Do you still know me? I asked. The woman looked at me searchingly, and she had opened the door, a chink, a little door, a little portion she had opened. I came closer and stood on the step. No, I don't know you. I am Mrs. S.'s daughter. Now she wanted to identify herself, saying that she is Mrs. S.'s daughter. But what happens? The owner of the house, the lady behind the door, she held her hand on the door. She held her hand on the door as if she didn't want to open it anymore. And her face was completely a stranger's face without any sign of recognition. Recognition in the sense she did not want to recognize who was standing in front of her. And she behaved as if she doesn't know her. This is where at 46 Marconi Street. This account takes place at 46 Marconi Street, and then there are three important realizations. After this encounter or after this meeting, there were three important realizations for the narrator or for Mrs. S.'s daughter. The first realization, the narrator realizes that she is at the correct address as Mrs. Darling is wearing her mother's sweater. Now I am going to take you a bit further. Now see, come to this paragraph. She held her hand on the door as if she wanted to prevent it opening any further. Her face gave no absolute sign of recognition. She kept staring at me in silence. Perhaps the first realization, understand the first realization in this paragraph. Perhaps I was mistaken, I thought. Perhaps it is not her. Now, this portion is very, very important. I am highlighting this portion because it will help you to understand. Perhaps I was mistaken, I thought. Perhaps it isn't her. I had seen her only once, fleetingly. Fleetingly means just for a moment. And you see, the narrator was standing there, and the woman behind the door, she opened the door very cautiously. She didn't want her to enter the house. And just because she didn't want her to enter the house, and she wanted to shut the door immediately on her face. So the second realization I have told you, and I am repeating myself, the second realization was the narrator felt that she was unwelcome. And then, as she was standing on the step and the door was closed in front of her, the curtain in front of the bay window moved. It was very clear that somebody was inside the house. So it was a third realization that there is another person in the house, and somebody whom Mrs. Darling is very anxious. Somebody is there whom Mrs. Darling is very anxious to keep away from the narrator. She didn't want the narrator to see that person inside the house. And who is that somebody, we'll find out later on. As she walked back to the station, she thought about her mother. As I walked back to the station, I thought about my mother who had given me this address years ago. It had been the first half of the war. I was home for a few days, and it struck immediately that something or other about the rooms had changed. I missed various things. My mother was surprised. The room was looking very empty when she came back, and she had been finding the room empty, that the things are not there. And she asked her mother immediately that, mother, where are the things? Why is the room looking so empty? The mother was surprised. My mother was surprised. I should have noticed so quickly. The mother never thought that the daughter would have noticed that the room is so empty so quickly. Then, while sharing the information, the mother told her about Mrs. Darling. So she had never heard of her, but she was an apparently old acquaintance of my mother, means an old friend of her mother's, whom she hadn't seen for years. Mrs. Darling, who is Mrs. Darling, if this is asked? So you can you can very easily say that she happened to be an old acquaintance of Mrs. S. Mrs. S stands for her mother, whom she hadn't seen for years, and suddenly she had turned up. Suddenly one fine morning, this Mrs. Darling had turned up and renewed and again started their old contacts. Since then, she had come regularly. Every time she leaves here, she takes something home with her, said my mother. Every time, whenever she goes and whenever she comes and goes, she takes everything or something or the other with her while going back. She took all the table silver in one go, and then the antique plates that hung there. She had trouble lugging those large vases, and I'm worried she has got a crick in her back about the crockery. My mother shook her head pityingly. I would never have dared ask her. She suggested it to me herself. She even insisted. She wanted to save all my nice things. If we have to leave here, we shall lose everything, she says. Have you agreed with her that she should keep everything? Now, see, the mother is trying to justify why Mrs. Darling, every time, whenever she comes and pays a visit to her mother, every time she used to come and she used to leave with something or the other. So, the mother is trying to justify her daughter, explain to her daughter why she used to carry the things like that. What was the reason that she had given Mrs. Darling? What was the reason Mrs. Darling had given to Mrs. S? That suddenly if the war is too much and if they had to leave the place, then where will all this crockery go? Where will all these antique things go? So let her keep the things safe. And she decides to carry all her things, all Mrs. S's things, to her own house to keep them safe. And like that, one by one, everything went out and the room became empty for the mother. Have you agreed with her that she should keep everything? As if that is unnecessary, as if that is necessary, my mother cried. It would simply be an insult to talk like that. Then, did you agree? Like, she is doing the things fine, but did you agree? Did you give her the permission to take the things like that? As if that is necessary. My mother cried. It would simply be like an insult to talk like that. And now, every time, whenever she is going out, she is carrying the things with her. My mother noticed that I was not entirely convinced. She looked at me reprovingly, means scoldingly. She looked at me and never again they spoke about the matter. Meanwhile, I had arrived at the station without having paid much attention to the things. Now, she was thinking about all this on the way back from the address. She was going back home from that address, 46 Marconi Street, and while going, she was thinking about all these things. I was walking in familiar places again for the first time since the war, but I didn't want to go further than was necessary. She was amidst the old familiar surroundings, but she didn't want to really start remembering or start going to those familiar places because she didn't want to upset herself. When you go back to your childhood memories, when you go back to your old places, and you are suddenly in the old familiar surroundings, that time you do not want, you become upset very easily. That sudden feeling of nostalgia, of memories of good old days, those things come back in your mind, and you really do not want to upset yourself so much. So the daughter also didn't want to upset herself so much, and she didn't want to really move here and there. She wanted to limit herself. And then in the train back, I saw Mrs. Darling in front of me again, as I had the first time I met her. It was the morning. First time encounter, first time meeting is being narrated here. It was the morning after the day my mother had told me about her. The first encounter is narrated here after the first introduction of Mrs. Darling to her daughter. The next morning she comes, and that time the daughter got up late. Coming downstairs, she saw her mother about to see someone out. The mother was about to see off someone. See off means at the gate, the mother had taken that person out to see her off, to say goodbye. A woman was there standing with a broad back. "There is my daughter," said the mother. She beckoned to me, and the mother then saw her daughter standing behind them, and she called her. She beckoned means she called her. The woman nodded and picked up her suitcase under the coat rack. She wore a brown coat and a shapeless hat. "Does she live far away?" I asked, seeing the difficulty she had going out of the house with the heavy case. Now the daughter was very considerate, and she thought that the old lady, in the way she was carrying that heavy case, because everything was there inside. That was the first time she saw her. And everything she was taking again from the house. So she had been considerate, and she wanted to help her out. And she asked, "Does she live far away?" So the mother replied, "In Marconi Street," said my mother, "number 46, remember that." So Mrs. S wanted her daughter to remember the address, and she said that Marconi Street, number 46. I had remembered it. I had waited for a long time to go there. Initially, after the liberation, I was absolutely not interested in that old stuff. And naturally, I was also rather afraid of it. When you open any old memories, initially you are very scared to open the memories because they give you a burst of, old days. And old days are such good old days always that they become very difficult for us to forget. And she didn't want to remember those old days with her mother, because after the war, when she has come back now to collect her mother's things, her mother is no more. Her mother is dead in the war, and she has come back to collect her mother's things because she wanted to keep her mother's memories with her. Suddenly she felt like it, and so she didn't want to actually bring back those things. And she was also rather afraid of it, afraid of being confronted, afraid of facing those things that had belonged to a connection that no longer existed. Now I'm explaining why she was so afraid, because those things belonged to a connection, belonged to her mother who no longer existed. Belonged to a connection who no longer existed, which were hidden away in cupboards and boxes and waiting in vain. They were hidden in cupboards and boxes in that 46 Marconi Street in vain until they were put back in their places again, which had endured all those things, all those years, because they were things. Now see, she wanted to forget the memories. She didn't want to disturb the memories. The only thing is, they had been waiting and waiting for her in vain, because they wanted to be back in their places. And yet she had also got some kind of fear, and she didn't want to face those things because they belonged to a connection, they belonged to her mother who never or who didn't exist anymore after the war. But gradually everything became more normal. Again highlighted because I wanted you to understand how the things became normal and why she went back. Why she had gone back. Here the question can be there, why the author had gone back to bring the things back to her own room, own house. Bread was getting to be a lighter color. There was a bed you could sleep in unthreatened. So these are the things that disappear after the war. Bread becomes a dark color. Breads are burnt. There is not a bed for sleeping. So those things were becoming again normal. Bread was beginning to become a lighter color. There was a bed for sleeping. Unthreatened means there was nobody to threaten you when you were sleeping. A room with a view you were more used to glancing at each day. Now things were becoming, settling down, normalizing. Right, and one day I noticed, I was curious about all those possessions that must be still at that address. I wanted to see them, touch them and remember them. So when the things are back to normalcy, that time we want to miss and we want to get back those things that we have been missing all this time. So she also felt like getting those things back which she had been missing also at the same time, and she wanted to see them, touch them, remember them. And after her first visit in vain means unsuccessful visit to Mrs. Darling's house, she decided to try it for a second time. Like try, we keep on saying, and you will succeed at last. So after her first visit, she decided to give it a second try. Now a girl of about 15 years opened the door and she asked that whether if the mother was at home. Who was there? Another girl of her age was there in the room. And she opened the door, and this Mrs. S.'s daughter, she asked the girl standing in front of her that whether mother is there or not. Then she said, no, mama is not there. She is on an errand. No matter, I will wait for her. This Mrs. S.'s daughter now was talking to Mrs. Darling's daughter. And so she said, okay, fine, I'll wait for her. Because she had gone back now to collect the things. Okay, then please come in. And then this portion is highlighted because she was taken to a room. Mrs. S.'s daughter was taken to a room where everything happened to be so familiar. And why it happened to be so familiar? Familiar means common. The whole room setting appeared to be so common that she was horrified. Won't you sit down? Asked the girl. She held open the door of the living room and I went inside past her. I stopped, horrified. I was in a room I knew and did not know at the same time. Why? She was in the room she knew. And at the same time, she did not know the room at all. I found myself in the midst of things I did not want to see again, but which oppressed me in the strange atmosphere. She found herself in the midst of those things that she did not want to face again. She didn't want to face those things that belonged to a lost connection. And now she was sitting in the midst of those things she did not want to see again. But they oppressed her, they troubled her in the strange atmosphere. Or because of the tasteless way everything was arranged, because of the ugly furniture or of the ugly smell that hung there. I do not know, but I scarcely dared to look around me. She was very scared to look around her because there were three reasons. The furniture that belonged to her, the same furniture was all arranged in that room. They were arranged in a tasteless way, right? And there was a kind of muggy smell, a kind of bad smell inside that room. Because of all these things, the daughter, Mrs. S.'s daughter, did not dare to look around her. The girl moved a chair. I sat down and stared at the wooden tablecloth. Her own wooden tablecloth. I rubbed it. My fingers grew warm from rubbing. Now, as she was rubbing it, she became excited because it was her own thing. I followed the lines of the pattern. Somewhere on the edge, there should have been a burn mark that had never been repaired. She knew on the edge of the tablecloth there should be a burn mark that she remembered that had never been repaired. They had never mended that burn mark. My mother will be back soon, said the girl. I have already made the tea for her. Will you have a cup? Thank you. I looked up. The girl put the cups ready on the tea table. She had a broad back, and she had taken a look like her mother. The daughter also had a broad back. She poured tea from a white pot. All it has was a gold border on the lid, I remembered. She opened a box and took some spoons out. That's a nice box. I heard my own voice. It was all her things. Everything belonged to her mother and herself. But she could do nothing about it. That was a nice box. I heard my own voice. It was a strange voice. She found herself sounding like a stranger, as though each sound was different in this room. Oh, you know them. She had turned round and brought me my tea. She laughed. My mother says it is antique. We have got lots more. Look at that. A lot of same kind of things were there with her, and they all belonged to Mrs. S.'s daughter. But Mrs. Darling's daughter doesn't know anything about it. So she laughed and she said, my mother says it is an antique. Who is this my mother? My mother is Mrs. Darling. See for yourself. I had no need to follow her hand. I knew which things she meant. Mrs. S.'s daughter knew which things she meant. I just looked at the still life over the tea table. As a child, I had always fancied the apple on the pewter plate. Now she saw, and her childhood memories came back. She always loved to have an apple on a pewter plate, on a small kind of plate, on a kind of old plates. She had always loved to take apples. We use it for everything. Once we even ate off the plates hanging over there on the wall. I wanted to so much, but it wasn't anything special. I had found the burn mark on the tablecloth. The girl looked questioningly at me. The daughter had found the burn mark on the tablecloth, and the girl looked questioningly at me. Yes, I said, you get so used to touching all these lovely things in the house, you hardly look at them anymore. Now, when you are becoming so used to touching lovely things in the house, then you don't look at them anymore. You only notice when something is missing. She is relating. She is sharing her childhood days, her old days when her mother was there, and when she used to be so comfortable with the things around her that she never noticed how comfortable they were for her until and unless things go missing. That is why I am coming back to this line once again. You only notice. Now, I am taking you back for one more time. Yes, I said you get so used to touching all these lovely things in the house that you do not consider them anymore. Yes, they are there with you. You only notice when something goes missing because it has to be repaired or you have lent it, for example. Right. Again, I heard the unnatural sound of my voice and I went on. I remember my mother once asked me if I would help her polish the silver. It was a very long time ago and I was probably bored that day, or perhaps I had to stay at home because I was ill, as she had never asked me before. I asked her which silver she meant, and she replied, surprised, and that it was the spoons, forks and knives, of course. And that was a strange thing. I didn't know that cutlery we ate of every day was silver. Now she is narrating her old days, that she was saying that one day when her mother had asked her to polish the silver, she didn't even know that what silver she is talking about, which silver she was talking about. So the mother was saying that time that you are eating every day on silver plates using silver spoons, you do not know Then she found it very strange because she didn't know that the cutlery she was using for dinner and for meals and everything was made of silver. She had got so used to the cutlery that she didn't know any difference that they were made of silver. The girl laughed again. I bet you do not know it is either. I looked intently at her. What we eat with? She asked. That you do not know what we eat with either. Well, do you know? She hesitated. She walked to the sideboard and wanted to open a drawer. Look, it's in there. I jumped up. Now she didn't want to look at the familiar old silver cutlery because she knew that Mrs. Darling's daughter was eating off the silver plates with the silver spoons, forks and knives. She was using her cutlery and she wanted to show that, do you know whether we are eating like that or not? So she was asking what we eat with. Do you know? She asked Mrs. Darling's daughter that, do you know whether you know what you are eating with and what you are eating of? So the girl hesitated. She walked to the sideboard. I will look, it's in there. And she didn't. S.S. daughter didn't want to look in. She jumped up. I was forgetting the time. I must catch my train. She had her hand on the drawer. Don't you want to wait for my mother? No, I must go. I walked to the door. The girl pulled the drawer open. I can find my own way. As I walked down who said this? I can find my own way. Mrs. S.'s daughter. As I walked down the passage, I heard the jingling of spoons and forks. The silver cutlery was jingling behind her. At the corner of the road, I looked up at the nameplate. Marconi Street, it said I had been at number 46. The address was correct. But now I do not want to remember it anymore. I wouldn't go back there because the objects that are linked in your memory with the familiar life of former times instantly lose their value when severed from them. You see them again in strange surroundings. I will just end the story with this particular sentence, that she didn't want to go back there because the objects that are linked in your memory with the familiar life of the good old times, with the old life of the good old times, instantly they lose their value. When you see your own things that you are born and that you are growing up with, today you are using your glass. Every day you are having your water from the same glass. And supposing after a long time that glass happened to disappear from your house and it happens to land up in it goes to some other house. I'm using simple English. It goes to some other house. And that glass is being used by somebody else. Would you like to take that glass back again? Your glass back again? No, because immediately that glass would lose its value when you find that glass in the hands of some other person. Immediately the memories will lose their value, the importance will lose their value because it is now some other's property in some other's hand. And it belongs to somebody. These things that we are talking about here in the chapter, these things belong to somebody who is no more. So this daughter didn't want to again go back to the memories that were so troubling and that had lost their importance in her life. In due course of time, she will have to forget them. So the question might be asked, why the author had gone back, why the author wanted to forget. So the author had gone back to collect the things. The author wanted to feel the things and touch the things and bring them back in her memories. But now she wanted to forget the things because those things had lost their importance. The things had been taken away from her and placed in strange surroundings. And that is why they had become meaningless to him. And they belong to a lost connection. That connection is not there anymore in her life. And you mentioned the lost connection, that connection is her mother. I resolved to forget the address. The daughter now took some promise to forget the address. Because why? Of all the things I had to forget, it would be the easiest. Now I want to forget many things in my life, and forgetting this address would be the easiest because the address contained those things that had become meaningless to her. That is why it would be very easy, very easy to forget that address that contained her old memories that had become meaningless to her, right? Valueless to her, right? That is all for this chapter. Word meanings and all I'll upload later. Any doubts? We are again back to each other. Otherwise, be ready for the assignment, right? Thank you. Have a nice day.